Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to be making a Getback whip. It's been something that we've been kind of putting off for a while. It's a big project, so we're going to be doing kind of a simplified version of it here. So if you're somewhat new to Paracord and this is something that you'd like to make, this would be a great place to start. There's a lot of more advanced tutorials for this project on the internet, but nothing that is kind of an entry level getting into this for the first time type of thing. So kind of the main piece of hardware that you're going to need for this project is our panic snap. This is nice because it fits over the handle of your clutch or brake on your motorcycle, and with just grabbing it on the release mechanism, you can pull it off easily. There's no fumbling around for a release. So this is what you'll need to get started. Other than that, you'll also need 25 feet of paracord in 2 different colors, so for a total of 50. And then some kind of beads or something to weigh it down on the end. We're going to make kind of a whip end to it. Some people like to make more of a slammer with a pool ball or something like that with a big knot around it. But we're going to go for like the 4 tails of a whip on this one. And then for tools, it'll help if you have something like a FID or marlin spike. We've got this knotters tool that we sell in our store, but anything with a little bit of an end is going to work, even a screwdriver for that matter. And then scissors and a lighter. Let's dive in. All right, so we're going to start off with our paracord pieces, and we'll just clip each of those down into half their length. So once you have all those cut, just find one end of all of them, and we're going to be starting on the tail end. So at the end we're going to be tying these beads on, but we won't do that yet because they're just going to get in the way. But we want to leave about a foot of extra cord before we tie our first knot. And actually a little bit more than a foot. Let's leave a foot and a half of cord. And then we're just going to tie a overhand knot there just to keep things in place. A poor man's binder clip. All right, so in this end we're going to be making what's called a foot rope knot. It's just a nice decorative knot for our end that'll lead into our 4 tassels for the whip. So to set it up, we want our same colors on opposite sides of the knot. So like this. And then we're going to start by making a box knot or wall knot. So that's just going to involve putting our grays over the top like this to have 2 loops. And then take this color here, do the same thing, but it's going to go under that second cord. Then this one over the first, under the second, just like that. This is a common one used in kids' plastic lace bracelets and things. Once you have your box knot, we aren't going to tighten it all the way down. We're going to start by grabbing one cord and moving around counterclockwise underneath the one next to it, and then across the top. We want it to rest just to the inside of the opposite colored one going this direction here. So we're going to move counterclockwise around the circle again. So we'll grab this orange one, bring it under the one next to it, and then over across the top here, just to the inside of the gray one going across. Same thing with this one, underneath our orange, and across the top. Gets a little bit complicated to hang on to. Then our last one here, this orange one, is going to go underneath, and then it actually has to come up through our first one that we did. So this gray loop here, so we'd be laying it across the top like this, but it's got to go through there, and that's going to lock it all down. All right, so it looks like a mess here, but it is a symmetrical mess. We're going to tighten that down a little ways, but not all the way. We've got another step to go in this. All right, so once you've got it tightened down, you can kind of pull the cords off of the top there. You've got them coming out at all different places here. So now, where they're laid across the top, right alongside the one of the opposite color, we're going to follow that over right alongside the one of opposite color. So we're following this orange one right now, just to the inside of it. And we'll catch all the cords up to that step before we move on. So now this one here was following this orange one across. We want it to go underneath, right alongside. And same with these ones, across the top to the inside of that gray one. That is not a very good end on that paracord. And this one as well, across the top, following that other color through. So now our knot is symmetrical again, and we've got our cords fastened down a little bit better. So now it's relatively easy to just follow each one of those cords through until it comes out the top here. So we'll start turning the knot sideways so you can see what I'm doing. And we'll start with this orange one. So we're just going to keep on following that gray cord, but instead of continuing to follow it, where over here it already has one alongside, so we'll just follow it as far as it goes underneath. We're going to poke it straight into the knot and up through the top. Like that. So moving on to the next one. We've got our gray following alongside our orange. Just poke it right in that hole and up the top of the knot. Same for this next one here. There we go. And our last gray. All right, so now we've got our knot finished. We just want to tighten that down as much as we can. All right, our foot rope knot is done, and we've got still our foot or so of cord here on the end that's going to turn into the whip ends. But for now, we're going to be making the bulk of it with kind of a sinnet chain knot. So we're going to undo that overhand knot that we tied just as a placeholder. And we should have our 4 strands again with our colors on opposite sides. So for this knot, it's going to start the same way as our foot rope knot. We're going to just put both cords, we got a lot more cord to work with this time, but both cords over the front, and then each of these cords, grab an end down here so you can see what I'm doing. We want to go over the loose end and underneath the next one. And same with our other side, over that first cord, over that first cord, and underneath this second one. Oops, I pulled that cord through. All right, so we'll just tighten this loosely down here. We've got that same knot that we started out with before. So we'll tighten that one down, and then the next step is going to be a little bit different after that. All right, so there's our first knot. We've got that checkerboard pattern. So we would put our cords across like this, but to have a round shape instead of that square that we have here, we're going to actually switch that up. So they're going to go to the opposite sides. So we got this in the bottom corner. We're going to bring it up to the top corner like that. And this one is going to go to the bottom corner. That's going to give us kind of a spiral pattern moving up the whip. So now same with these orange ones. Grab this one first. We're just going to go over that first cord, underneath the second. We want to go opposite corners of each other. So these orange ones here, if we went straight across, this one here would be on the bottom, but it's going across to the top. And put our second orange cord through. All right, so aligning this, you can see what's going on. We've got our square again, just like before. but it's sitting at a kitty corner to the one underneath. So go ahead and tighten that down, and this knot is actually going to be the bulk of the whip. So we're going to keep on stacking these knots, keep on doing the spiral adjusting on each knot there, and we'll be building that out for about 2 feet. So one more time for clarity's sake, this is what our knot looks like before it's tightened down. So we've got a loop in each cord fed through the loop next to it. So from the side, that looks like our 2 loops that we put across, and the other one's fed through the opposite direction. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down. I've weaved about 20 inches now, just shy of the 2 feet that I had told you. And at this point we can attach our shackle. We're going to be using much the same knot that we did before, except we're going to be weaving it through the anchor point on the bottom there. So it's going to be oriented in a diagonal to our cords. So to do that, you just kind of want to lay that there, or upright rather, and feed the cords through just as if we were doing the knot without the shackle there. By doing it diagonal like this, we get all 4 cords running through this to make sure that it's the strongest knot. Alright, so we've got our 2 cords across like before. And I'm just going to use a straight box knot on this. I'm not going to do the diagonal one. So we've got our lines going parallel instead of kitty corner. So then taking our orange cord, we want to bring it, just like before, over that first cord underneath that second, but we want to do that while also going through the shackle. So we'll feed it through there, over that first cord, and then I'm going to flip it around so we can go underneath this cord here. And then the same thing with our orange going the other direction. I'm going to go over this cord, underneath this one. So I'm going to tighten that down, and then you'll kind of see what I mean here. So there, our knot doesn't look too much different from before. We've just got that shackle going through the middle of it. So when you tighten it down, make sure that it's pointing upright, otherwise your knot will kind of tighten off to one side. All right, and then to make sure that this knot holds tight, we just want to make one more right on top of that. So same way, we're just going to be forming that knot through the shackle. So there's our 2 knots tightened down. So now that's pretty secure. The shackle isn't going to go anyplace. To finish this off, we're going to turn around and do the same knot on the outside of what we already have. So it's going to look a little bit different, but we're just going to weave about 3 inches down. That makes kind of a nice handle on the top and finishes off the knot nicely. So we're going to flip this upside down. So just like before, I'm going to take my gray cords first and make my loops. Like this. So you guys can see that there. Get one going each direction. And then just kind of hold them down there with your fingers. And then with our orange cords, we're going to be going over the one. There we go, that's a little clearer. Over this loop, and then through this bottom one here. Same thing on this other side. I'm going to go over this loop down here and underneath this one. So then from the top, once you get them all kind of in place, it looks the same as it did before. Our interlocking loops like that. So now I'll just tighten that down as close as I can to the shackle. And the first knot is not going to hold tight by itself. That'll kind of get locked in place when we add that second layer to it. All right, so one more time. If it's coming out on this side, our gray cord here, because we're doing our spiral one again now, we want to go to the opposite side. gray cord from the bottom, up on this side, and you know the drill. After done weaving and then cutting and fusing your ends on our handle end, we're going to move down to the whip portion where we'll add our spacer beads. Now these are beads that you can find in our store, but little weights like this can also be found at most hardware stores. So you can put whatever you want on there, whether it's skull beads or something sharp or whatever. But these will just kind of weigh the end down so that it's not flapping around quite as much when you're riding your bike. All right, so thread one of these onto each end, and we're just going to tie a simple overhand knot to keep it on. And that'll work because we're going to clip the end of the cord and fuse it to the knot. So if you want to do a more secure stopper knot, you can definitely do that. But we're just going to melt the end. You want to maybe melt it a little bit of extra time, and then push it, get it up against your knot, so that the plastic actually kind of fuses to your knot, so that knot wouldn't come undone by itself, or even if you tried. All right, so we'll do that to each of these cords and move on from there. So there's lots of ways that you can make this fancier. You can put Turk's head knots to cover up your ends and things, but this is just kind of a standard one if it's your first try. It's a fun project. It takes a little bit longer to get this much length to it, but it was worth it. I think it looks nice, and hope you guys enjoyed this one. Now, you guys are all adults, or at least I assume you are, but what you do with this is up to you, and not my fault. Hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and found it useful. If you want to make this project for yourself, we put a link in the description with all the supplies that you'll need for this project. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.